this Saturday the 19th Picks edition of the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by our Patreon. Score exclusive perks, content and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with a $1,000 prize. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app to get last-minute tickets at the lowest price guaranteed. Use the promo code SGPN for $20 off. Welcome, everybody, to the MLB Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Friday, August the 18th, and we are here with one of our turbo specials, a Lock Dog Total show for Saturday, August the 19th. We might dig around some other stuff. We'll see where we meander, because tonight it's made for meandering because it's an OG special. Remembering when this was all fields, with me is Mr. Munaf Manji. Hello, Munaf. How are you?
Doing well. The grass has definitely grown since you and I started this pod. But yeah, nice day, at least on the football field, we should say. To start the weekend off, I texted you 2 winners, so you're welcome for that, by the way. But yeah,
that's not quite how I remember it, Munaf. But yeah, okay.
I was just seeking validation for the 2 picks that I sent you. That's just what it is. But yeah, no, great to be here with you, Mal. A great start, at least on the football field. Hopefully, we can carry that onto the dirt and also into the EPL weekend.
I think we need to start introducing a fine system for mentioning football, either on the show or in the chat, because Trev started it off. Trev, we've had a winner tonight. Nottingham Forest scored a last-minute winner to win, which was my pick. So Trev's celebrating. D-Rock's here celebrating. Asan, he's in there celebrating as well. But yeah, $1 fine, I think, for the football chat. There's a show for that, people. And there's a show for this, but yeah,
we're promoting the EPL.
Yeah, that's true,
Malcolm.
It was a bit of a lucky winner, but you've got to take them because you get the amount of bad beats you get in this game. So Forest weren't brilliant, but scored 2 minutes from the start and scored 2 minutes from the end. So bookended the game with a goal. I have got a little Malbec, Munaf. Have you ever known me have a little alcoholic drink on the show before? I think it might be the
first
time.
Are probably the first time to do that in 370 some odd episodes.
Yeah. Do you remember, I was thinking about this before, when we would sit on a Monday night and do the show and try and handicap the Thursday games 4 days out? I mean, what were we even thinking, Munaf? It's like a
lot of times, like the pitching projections or the probable pitchers would be out
miles away.
Yeah. But at that point, we were just kind of kicking the tires on the show. Like, we were just talking about stuff that was happening around MLB and just trying to talk about teams and stuff like that. And the picks were like an afterthought. But I think last season when we changed the format, that handicap every single game, every single day. So that made a 180-degree turn for us. But yeah, kind of looking back on those days and see where the pod and how much it's grown. It seems like it was a long time ago, but it really wasn't.
Yeah, we have come a long way, and that's entirely due to the efforts of people like yourself, but the listeners mainly, and everyone who's in the chat as well. It is a load of fun. I enjoyed dipping into draft day a couple of times. I dropped in last night before I went to bed. I told Kramer I was going for a lovely big sleep, and then I would see him tomorrow. And then I dropped in this afternoon after a 16-hour sleep and a 2-hour bath, just to see how he's getting on for the last hour. I got geolocated out of the donation thing. I wasn't allowed to donate from this country, so I'll have to. I'll PayPal you or someone. You can do it that way to get that over. Did you get involved for a little draft or not?
I did not. I mean, I chimed into the chat, but I'm not much of a fantasy guy. And the funny part is, I was on with Steffi Smalls show before we got on to do a mock draft for fantasy purposes. But I mean, I'll play a couple leagues with my friends and here and there for a couple bucks, some pizza and steak money. But I'm not the true expert like we have on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. I'll say that much.
Yeah, you're not the big fantasy guy. The draft, this couple of drafts I saw, there was just so many names in there.
Yeah.
Names that we know off this show and off the Premier League show. Serial was in both the drafts that I saw. And then you got TD Kings and then old names as well, Magic Man, Blanco and B Swiss. People who I just know, I don't know who B Swiss is, but I know his name and I've seen him around the network for years and years and years. And then you just sit there, he is, just regular as clockwork. Like, it was a really heartwarming thing for Ryan. It was the other Ryan as well, wasn't it? Oh, sorry, Andrew. Ryan and Andrew did it. But just the support you get from the DJs was brilliant. Like, I really enjoyed. I tried to explain to the IT department what was going on. Mm-hmm. Like, he's drafted for 24 hours. Yes. Why? Well, because he can. Why wouldn't you? All of that. Who else is in? Casey and Matthew have joined us as well. Good evening. Right, so we've got a lock dog total, Munaf. I'll explain why as we go along, but I made a right arse of this today. I made incredibly hard work of making all our picks. And then there's half a page of scribble here, right? And I'll explain what this is, and you'll think I've lost my marbles in a bit. And I'll agree with you, which is why it's scribbled out. Because we said we'd have a little look at the playoff standings and stuff like that. And anyway, we'll cover that in a little while. But yeah, we've got some, it's a really odd card. And I did some really odd things looking at it. I'll tell you first about Game Time. Game Time is all about tickets. It's a new sponsor here on SGPN. And tickets, getting tickets is far too stressful. It's far more stressful than it ever needs to be. I've mentioned a couple of times the struggle I've had with my Newcastle season ticket and the Champions League coming up, the MLB London Series tickets. Big Barry was talking about his tickets for the Book of Mormon the other night, which were a faff on. But Game Time help you with all of that. It's a really fast and easy way to buy tickets for sports, music, comedy, and theatre. There are killer deals on last-minute tickets and the best price guarantee as well. So you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting excited for the fun that you're going to have. I know lots of people on the network have used Game Time. The flash deals, last-minute tickets, easy to find. The image seat views are all things people have talked about. Football, basketball, baseball, concerts, comedy, theatre. And you've got a Game Time guarantee. That means you'll always get the best price. So if you find the tickets in the same section or for less, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. So what you need to do is download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code SGPN for $20 off your first purchase. That's create an account, redeem the code SGPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Right. So what I did here, Munaf, right? I had a look. I thought, and didn't get very far down the page, and I got to the Red Sox and the Yankees.
Yeah.
And I thought, the Yankees are generally vulnerable lately. Boston are okay. Boston are being quite backable. Boston are a good dog price. And I made half my notes. I started making my case, and then just started going through Boston's batting stats, and I couldn't get there. So I had to put that to one side. I then got into Kansas City and the Cubs. Exactly the same. The Kansas City Royals are playing really well lately. They've been really feisty. They've got a really good record. The ERA, they're stealing a lot of bases. They've got a 3.01 August ERA. And then I got into Justin Steele's record and realised how good he'd been at home and how well the Cubs are going lately. And I had to shelve that as a dog. So that went. I eventually picked one out. But yeah, so I got down the Nationals are another one. So there's three dogs in there. Boston at plus 152, Kansas at plus 180, and the Nationals at plus 145. That I made a kind of half a case for all of them, but I couldn't pull the trigger. Where did you start? What did you get to? Because I was tying myself in knots, Muna.
So you want to start with our dog picks or total picks?
You start anywhere you like, Muna.
So let's start with our dog picks. I'm gonna back the Padres here on the Saturday night game between the Diamondbacks and the Padres. You see Merrill Kelly's on the mound for the Diamondbacks, and you have Yu Darvish on the mound for the Padres. And now on the season, Yu Darvish hasn't been very good for the Padres. That's been no secret. We've talked about that on volumes on the pod this season. 8-8 record with a 4.24 ERA, 131 strikeouts, 41 walks. Last 5 games, he's been respectable. Doesn't have a winning record, but he does have a 3.86 ERA. And 7 of those 13 earned runs he's allowed over the last 5 games all came in one start, which was against the Pirates. But the one thing that really stuck out to me about Yu Darvish was the success that he has against his Diamondbacks team in his career. So overall, and this goes all the way back to the 2013 season. I can't believe he's been in the league that long, but I'm going to trim this down, but just to put into context, Darvish in his career against the Diamondbacks, 8-3 with a 3.36 ERA, 124 strikeouts and 17 appearances. Now, let me trim this down to the 2021 season when he joined the San Diego Padres as a starting pitcher. And in that span, 5-2 with a 3.56 ERA. And going back to last season, Mal, he faced his Diamondbacks team 5 times. He's already faced them twice this season. So over the course of his last 7 appearances against the Diamondbacks, he's 5-0 with a 1.90 ERA in those 7 appearances. Merrill Kelly has been the complete opposite against this Padres team. And looking at his career numbers against the Padres, he is 8-3 with a 2.91 ERA. He did face them earlier this season on April 22nd, where he did allow 4 earned runs, gave up 5 walks in that game to the Padres as well. Padres went on to win that game by the score of 5-3. And again, Merrill Kelly is coming off a really good start against the Dodgers, who historically he had been really bad against. But I like the spot here for Darvish at home. Anytime I do want to back Darvish, it is at home. And I think there's just a lot of value on this -1.5 price, especially at +154 here. Add to the fact that the Diamondbacks have lost 4 straight starts when Merrill Kelly is on the mound, and 3 out of those 4 losses have come by at least 2 earned runs. So for my dog pick, I'm going to go with the San Diego Padres -1.5 +154 with Yu Darvish on the mound.
Oh, Munaf. We have just wasted 7 minutes of everybody's time.
You're on the complete opposite side.
My dog for tomorrow, Munaf, is the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Well, good. This makes great. This makes great content.
Are you sure? But people are going to listen. They're no better off.
I mean, I know, but again, that gives this gives the listeners both sides of the story, right? I mean, a lot of time on gambling pods, there's just a lot of agreement. Again,
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
we and on our pods we have a lot of agreement as well. So again, this gives the listeners, an opportunity to decide for themselves if they're going to bet this game.
Yeah, it's a bit of a devil's advocate situation, I suppose. So Arizona are +130. I had them written down at +114 earlier on. So obviously someone's seen me write this down and push the price out by 16 points. Merrill Kelly has had 3 starts back from the IL. Very steady Eddie, one of the most steady Eddie guys around. Very unspectacular. Just kind of gets on with it. He played for US in the WBC preseason. It was going along okay. But his 3 starts back from the IL, he's been fine. He's pitched 18 innings. So he was ready. He was pretty stretched out when he came back. He didn't really ease him in on much of a pitch count. He's only given up 4 earned runs over those 3 6-inning starts. He has a 22-4 strikeout to walk ratio and really no whip as well. Just keep the Ducks off the pun. Now, the Diamondbacks were struggling. I handicapped the games on Monday and Tuesday for the show. And I think they had the worst record in MLB post All-Star break. But they've won 3 in a row now, got back to a little bit of form. They had a good 3-1 win last night behind Gallen. And this is quite a good comp game for them. Yu Darvish's ERA at home is 4.16. San Diego Padres have lost 4 of his last 5 starts. And they've only scored him 1 run in each of the last 2 as well. He just looked vulnerable to me. The Padres are one of the teams. The Blue Jays are another one. These sort of wobbly teams that are hard to back. So even if I wasn't going to back the Diamondbacks, I don't think I could bring myself to back San Diego like you have, although you made a good case. But yeah, I'll make my dog, Arizona, +130, Munaf.
I did have an honorable mention as well, but like you mentioned with the Cubs and Justin Steele against the Royals, I couldn't find a run line price on it just because usually when we record early, we're waiting for the wind direction. I'm checking another site that usually does have, but yeah, this one doesn't have it either. But yeah, I think you make a great case for the Diamondbacks as well, right? I know, like you mentioned, they had gone off to a very rough start after the All-Star break. They've kind of found their form here, but at least in the NL West division, they're pretty much out of it. So they're going to be fighting for their lives for a wild card position in the National League. Same thing with the Padres, right? So anytime you have these NL West matchups outside of the Colorado Rockies within the team, is always a fun series to watch. So now when the Padres win by 1 run tomorrow, then we're just gonna look like idiots with the clown mask on because I'm taking the run line and you're taking them on the money line.
We could both lose. They do seem to have just firmed up the back end of that bullpen a little bit. Arizona, I think they picked up. Was it Paul Sewald? They picked up. He didn't get the save last night. Justin Martinez got the save last night, but maybe I think Sewald had pitched the night before. Obviously, they've won 3 games in a row, so I think he's picked up back-to-back saves. So he had a night off, but they just seem to have firmed that up a little bit because there was Andrew Chafin, was in there before, just making mistakes and what have you. So it doesn't move the needle a lot, but it moves it maybe just enough. Okay, Munaf, where do you want to go next?
We can go over to our total picks. You want to lead us off?
Yeah, I reckon you've got the same pick as me, Munaf. Now, again, I started handicapping this as my luck. I had a proper weird afternoon when I was handicapping this. Honestly, I was all over the place. I was talking myself in and out of things. I started handicapping the Atlanta Braves as my luck because the Atlanta Braves are minus 118 against the San Francisco Giants. And I don't really care who's pitching for anybody. The Atlanta Braves will beat the San Francisco Giants 8 times out of 10. And at minus 118, you just almost have to back them blind. And then I just found a safer option, which is the over 9.5 runs. And it's kind of behind Yonny Chirinos. Scott Reichel on the show on Tuesday or Wednesday mentioned Yonny Chirinos as one of the worst pitchers in baseball the other day. And yeah, he's filling in kind of for Atlanta. He's just eating some innings up at the minute and gets away with it because their offense is so stellar. I'll run you through some of the numbers. He's 8.61 ERA in his last 5 starts, 23 innings pitched and 22 earned runs. But it doesn't matter. They lost 7-6 to the Mets, fair enough. But the 3 before that, they beat Pittsburgh 8-6. They beat the Angels 12-5, and they beat the Brewers 10-7. So there's a gazillion runs. Atlanta just outscored the Yoppo anyway. He always wins on the run line. They're averaging over 7 runs per game this month, something else we discussed earlier in the week. So I was going to take Atlanta as my luck, just because, like I say, it doesn't matter. And it's the Giants. I mean, a very, very average seed. However, Logan Webb kind of talked me. He taught me he's got a 4.52 road ERA. And the Giants are actually playing a little bit better. They do better on the road. They score more runs on the road, obviously, because they've got that great big ballpark at home. They score 4.9 runs per game on the road. And I just thought, because the over's going to be a similar price as Atlanta, sort of just a shade of minus money, minus 110 or what have you. So this just gave you more ways to win, I think. So it wasn't, I still think Atlanta will win, but this bet was just a little bit safer because there's more ways to do it. So I think we can quite easily, looking at those 17 runs, 14 runs, 13 runs in his last 4 starts, and you're setting me a total of 9.5. Yeah, all day long, Munaf. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Scott has mentioned it multiple times, like you said on the pod, that Yonny Chirinos is just not a very good pitcher, and it's been how bad his pitching has been I think, put under the rug, I guess, because of the offense, for lack of better words. Back-to-back starts, he's allowed 6 earned runs to the Pirates and the New York Mets. And like you mentioned, all 5 of his last games, when he has pitched for the Braves, have scored a minimum combined runs of 12 runs. So going back to the Royals game, 12, 17, 17, 14, and 13. So He's prone to give up, home runs. He's prone to giving up or issuing walks to the opposition. A 6.25 ERA in Atlanta. And when we talk about playing in Atlanta, especially this time of the year, it's hot. I mean, when I mean it's hot, it's hot. So that's only going to help your over and balls flying out of the yard as well. So, again, we've talked about a lot. The Braves offense is by far the best in the league. I think it's Braves 1, Rangers number 2, and I think there's and then you could throw the Dodgers into that conversation as well. But they're just a well-oiled machine right now. I couldn't talk you off of taking an over in a Braves game, especially when Chirinos is on the mound, and he's susceptible to giving up. Logan Webb, like I mentioned, is susceptible to giving up a couple runs here as well. And I think the Giants will be able to get us a couple off of, or should be able to get at least 4 off of Chirinos in this game.
Okay, Munaf, where did you take us next?
All right. So for my total, there was a couple ways I wanted to go here. The first one I'll mention is going to be let's go over to that Astros and the Mariners game. And I think this is let's go to that Toronto Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds game. That total is currently sitting at 10 right now. And when we talk about teams that are trending towards the overs, we talk about ballparks that go towards the overs. Cincinnati is at the top of that list. And now you have a Toronto Blue Jays offense that has looked like it had to turn it around, because there was a stretch where the Blue Jays were a dead nut under team. It seems like they finally found some form here, at least scoring runs and trying to make that playoff push, at least in the wild card in the American League. So Brandon Williamson at home this season has not fared very well. He is a left-handed pitcher. If you kind of just take a look at his numbers, does have a winning record at 4-2 with a 4.33 ERA. He's been pretty good over his last 5 games, 3-0 with a 3.18 ERA. But when we talk about an offense that's coming in like the Toronto Blue Jays and the caliber players that they do have, I'll lean towards the over in this game. I know his last couple games he's been really good, but it was against the Pirates. We talked a lot about the Pirates. Have they just fallen off of the cliff ever since they were in first place in the National League Central for a little bit there? And then the other team was the Miami Marlins, whose bats either get really hot or really cold at the same time. He gave up 5 earned runs to the Chicago Cubs. Was respectable against the LA Dodgers as well. And I think on the flip side as well with Chris Bassett, there's times where he looks like an absolute stud of a pitcher, and there's times where you back him and he gives up 7-8 runs in a game. His last start was against the Cubs. He allowed 4 earned runs there. He gave up 4 to the Baltimore Orioles as well in 6 innings. So I think these two offense, especially in Cincinnati, will be able to put up some runs here. I'm going to go with the over 10 right now. And again, it's 10 for a reason, but I think both these offenses are more than capable of putting up runs in this game. So I'll take the Blue Jays and the Reds over 10. And my other honorable mention was the under in the Mariners and the Astros game, but official pick, Blue Jays, Reds over 10.
Okay, Munaf, lovely watertight case. Daryl's turned up in the chat. He's throwing out some underdogs for tonight, trying to get some dogs over the line. I love that. Okay, we'll move on to our, what have we got left? We've got our locks left to come.
Locks, yeah.
I'll tell you, the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon is a great place to get involved in things like the NFL Win Totals contest. You get $1,000 first place prize. You've got season-long contest, but also the weekly contest just for the patrons, the SGP Stories podcast, the Discord channel, which is sharp as a razor. So help us to help you prevent corporate gambling. Do your part and sign up today. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. Okay, Munaf, we'll let you go. Look.
So this one, it's kind of a contrarian play. I don't think it's going to be a very popular play. I'm going to go with the Angels money line here with Chase Selseth on the mound for the Angels going up against Zach Eflin and the Rays. Chase Selseth has been absolutely fantastic for this Angels team, and just looking at his numbers, season long, 4-1, 3.27 ERA, but he's just been absolutely stellar over his last 5 games that he's made appearances in. 4 of his last 5 games have actually been starts. I think he was a guy that was coming out of the bullpen for them, but he's made 4 straight starts, and he's gone up against some of the really better offenses in the league. Over his last 4 games, he's faced the Yankees. Their offense hasn't been very good, but he faced the Braves, the Mariners, who have been really hot over the past month or so, and then also the Astros in his last start. And in those 3 games over the course of the last 3 games against the Braves, Mariners, and Astros, he's only allowed 3 earned runs in about 17 innings pitched against those offenses. He's 3-0 in his last 4 starts with a 1.82 ERA. The Angels have won 3 out of his last 4 starts. Now, on the other side, we talk about Zach Eflin and the Rays. We talked about it at Volumes on the Pod now that Zach Eflin has been absolutely fantastic at Tropicana Field in Tampa Bay. 10-3 with a 3.05 ERA and 14 starts for the Rays. Now they go to Anaheim to take on the Angels, where it's a completely opposite story for Zach Eflin. 2-4 with a 4.71 ERA. He's allowed 26 earned runs in 49 2/3 innings pitched. They're also dealing with the whole Wander Franco situation. I know he's not with the team right now, but I think that's something that kind of hover over the locker room. But we've talked a lot about how the Rays are one of the best teams at home this season. And ever since they got off to that really hot, undefeated start, they've kind of been underwhelming, I should say, since that time. So I think I do have the better pitcher on the mound here, especially in the recent form that Chase Selseth is in. And this number kind of tells you that, hey, at even money right now for the LA Angels compared to a -120 favorite price for the Rays, that there's some respect here for the Angels going up against the Rays here. So I'm going to put my faith in Chase Selseth here to continue his domination as far as pitching. I think they should be able to get some runs off of Zach Eflin, who has struggled on the road due to the Angels off of Zach Eflin, I should say. So at even money right now, +100 over on DraftKings, I'll take the Angels as my lock for the Saturday games here, Mal.
I've got a +110 on FanDuel Munaf on that one. Fancy price.
All right, even better.
Yeah, that was another game I looked at and started handicapping, and I'm not sure I'm good enough to do this because you're back. We talked about the Padres and the Blue Jays. The Angels are another team, and that really it's savage amusement trying to find a game in which you rely on them to win. My luck is really boring, Munaf, but I mean we've given out a nice total and a +130 Doug. So I've got a lock at -148. So I'm not going to win any prizes for originality, but it does just look. Yeah, go on then.
This was one I was considering, but the lines weren't up at the time. Yankees money line.
Oh, Munaf, you are incorrect. And actually, seeing the price now, we're -170. This was -148 3 hours ago, so I'm sticking to it. It's the Minnesota Twins to beat the Pittsburgh Pirates, which is Sonny Gray against Mitch Keller. You've got Gray is an absolute model of consistency, particularly lately. 304 on the year, 295 at home, 261 in his last 5. He often really gets let down by Minnesota's offense. But they've been better lately. Royce Lewis has come back, and he kind of goes under the radar a little bit. He's made a great impact, really. He's hitting somewhere near 500. He was sitting with runners in scoring position. He was like 482 or something the other night with runners in scoring position. They hit much better at home, 24 points better at home, and they're hitting 25 points better since the All-Star break. So lots of things trending in the right direction for Minnesota, which you can't say the same for about Pittsburgh or Mitch Keller. 505 ERA on the road, 675 ERA in his last 5. They're only hitting 227 in away games. They're only hitting 225 since July the 1st. They're scoring more runs lately, but a lot of homers. They're relying on one big swing in the bat. And Sonny Gray just doesn't give up home runs, Munaf. 136 and 1/3. Munaf, how many homers has Sonny Gray given up?
136 innings, you said?
Yep.
7.
5. Not a bad guess, mate.
Close.
So yeah, Minnesota. And now I don't know if I'm allowed my 148 price because I can't see it anymore. It's gone to 170. Let me just check if there's anything that's a little bit bigger. -170. No, -170.
You might be a good value on the run line as well. On the plus.
Well, yeah, I mean that's what I would pivot to, because I wouldn't sit here in good faith. We normally draw the line at sort of -150. when we give out picks. But like I say, this was definitely minus 148 about 5 hours ago. So yeah, the run line is definitely an option. But it looked the most bomb-proof play on the card for me, Moon, off that one.
Yeah, I was looking at this game as well. No, go ahead, finish your thought. I had some thoughts on Mitch Keller.
Yeah, go for it, mate. I'm done.
No, I was just going to mention that, I mean, I think he started the All-Star game, didn't he? If I'm not mistaken, for the National League, or I know he made the roster, but pre-All-Star break, Mal, for Mitch Keller, 9-4, 3.31 ERA. Since the All-Star break, 0-4 with a 7.71 ERA in 6 starts for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And again, last 3 games just has not been, or last 5 starts hasn't been very good for Mitch Keller, 0-3 with a 6.75 ERA. So I think you're on the right track here. The Pirates have lost 4 of his last 5 starts. 3 of those 4 losses have been by multiple runs, and 2 teams that are kind of going in opposite directions, right? I know TVDBJ mentioned that the Minnesota Bats have woken up a little bit, trying to maintain the lead over the Guardians in that AL Central division. I will talk about division races here in a minute and playoff picture, but this was one of the games I did consider as well until the line kind of did get away, like you mentioned, going from an opening price of around minus 140 all the way up to minus 175, minus 180 now.
Yeah, so we said that's our picks for Saturday in the book, but we did say we'd have a little look around some of the division races. I messaged you earlier on, said, have a look around and I've made a pick. And you replied to me, well, we can just have a look around. We don't have to make a pick. I was like, kid hell, Munaf, it's a betting show. It's not a coffee morning. Of course we're going to make picks. I mean, what do you think's going on here? The people haven't come to listen to us just talk like 2 men sitting in a pub.
They love listening to you and I talk.
Specifically then, Munaf, what caught your eye just having a look around the standings at the moment? Because it's looking clearer. There's fewer and fewer teams. One by one, they're kind of dropping off, but not too many huge surprises or sort of teams at the top. The big dogs have started flexing quite recently.
Yeah, so obviously the 2 divisions that are pretty much decided is the National League, the National League West and the National League East, right, with the Braves and the Dodgers. But again, me and Scott have talked about this for multiple weeks, that almost every other division race is still up for grabs, right? You talk about the Central Division in the National League, that's the only one. And then all 3 divisions, or at least 2 of the 3 divisions in the American League, are still up for grabs as well. And Baltimore has a 2-game lead over the Tampa Bay Rays, and then the Astros and the Rangers. Seems like they're just going to go down to the wire here as well. I think the wild card probably, Mal, is a more interesting conversation. But as far as divisions, I mean, nothing much has changed over the course of last week. It's still, like you mentioned, the big dogs are still flexing their muscle. The Braves have ran away with it, and the Dodgers have now ran away with it. I still do think the Brewers are going to end up winning the National League Central just because their pitching is by far better than the other 2 teams that are kind of breathing down their neck. We kind of go back and talk about the Cubs not really making a move to add to that pitching rotation, especially with the injury to Marcus Stroman and the Cy Young caliber year that Justin Steele is having. But I think the American League is more interesting. So I don't know what your thoughts are on those division races, but then we can kind of get over to the wild card.
Yeah, it's been, as you said, it looks a lot more clear lately. And even little things like Cleveland just deciding to give up has helped clear things up. It's certainly helped Minnesota. Texas news isn't exciting because Texas, we were waiting for them to drop away. And I still don't think it's going to happen. And I still think Baltimore are vulnerable. That's the nagging thing in the back of my mind is that they still don't get much length out their pitching. They didn't do much to address it. Jack Flaherty came in the other day. We faded him. We got lit up. I think they were 5-0 down in the first inning. Was it Houston got to him? My local book here, Munaf, does, if your team gets 5 runs ahead, they settle your bet. And that bet was settled before I went and brushed my teeth before I went to bed. I sort of finished the show, went to brush my teeth, got into bed, looked at the score. It was 5-0, money in the bank before. So I love shit like that. I normally have to wake up to a winner. But they've got me a winner over the line before my head touched the pillow. So in Baltimore, just to keep burning that bullpen. We've seen a couple of times recently Bautista get low. But yeah, the wildcard race is the one, Munaf, and the odds I looked at, because I did feel obliged to make a pick. I'll tell you what I did first, right? So harking back to this scribbled out half a page of shit. I'm going to read out my notes, Munaf. I want you to jump in when you know which team I'm talking about. This was the case I was going to make to back a team tonight.
Okay.
So it's a National League playoff, to make the playoffs. I didn't want anything to do with the Giants. I didn't want much to do with Cincinnati, Miami, Arizona, or the Padres. Now, the Padres were plus 390. There's a team 2 games behind them. It's 17-1 to make the playoffs, Muna.
I already know.
Yeah, I know. You do. What's the answer?
It's the Mets.
Yeah, I don't know what I was thinking. So I made a few more notes. So like there were 7 wild cards games back. They've just got rid of all the old men. They've won 2 in a row. That's one of my things.
They won 2 in a row.
They won 2 on the spin. Yeah. The top 4 can hit. They're going to get Alexis Diaz back, mate. Honestly, this is an entire page of shit. And then I've scribbled all over it, and I had to go and have a walk around the garden, Munaf. I don't know, like maybe the grind had got to me. I had a bit of a brain fart. So yeah, I went around the garden twice, cleared my head, scribbled that out, and now I'm back with a pick, Munaf. In the American League to make the playoffs, I've got the Seattle Mariners at plus 130.
Okay.
It looks like a bit of a match with the Toronto Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are in that spot. Seattle are half a game back. But on my book here, Toronto to make the playoffs, I think they're minus 200.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, no, maybe 4. Yeah, they are, yeah. Minus 200. And Seattle are plus 130. The Mariners are playing well. I think Blake Meyer, I've mentioned this probably twice in the last couple of weeks, he's kind of got into my head a little bit because he does work for the network. He's a Seattle fan, and you see him tweeting stuff out. So the more you see things, kind of the more you absorb it. And he's been talking about how well their rotation's going. But since the All-Star break, the July batting average was 249. They were sort of hitting around 230 before that. July batting average was 249. The August batting average is 269. The slug is up to 461, which is by far a season high. The pitching's really good lately. 335 July ERA, 325 August ERA. They've got loads of green arrows on their pitching stats. They're second in earned runs. They're second in walks. They're second in ERA. They're second in WAR. The bullpen is ranked 3rd. Matt Brash has almost accidentally become their closer. Recently been one of the best relievers in the game. They're sort of top 10 all over the board. Castillo, Kirby, Miller, Gilbert. Hancock's just fitted in. Not really sure what to get from him. But they've got a nice mix. And it just stood out, Munaf, it's half a game back, plus 130. For a team playing well and trending in the right direction. Looked like a fun bet to me.
Yeah, they have a big series this weekend against the Astros, and I think they've had the Astros number at least over this season, going back to last season as well. And they're one of the hotter teams in the MLB, so I really couldn't talk you off of it. And there was a lot of hype with this team coming around this season for them to either win the division in the AL West or at least at minimum make the playoffs. And at this juncture of the season, where there's about 40 some odd games left for each team. Right around 40 exactly. Actually, I should say that now is the time to start winning ball games. And again, you take a look at their strength of schedule left. They have the 10th easy schedule, but right behind them are the Toronto Blue Jays. So it might just, I don't think they play each other this season, at least for the rest of the year, do the Blue Jays or the Mariners, but that would have been a fun series to talk about. But yeah, look, they're in good form. It seems like they've kind of figured out some of their pitching rotation. And the bats have started to come around as well. I know, was it yesterday? Julio Rodriguez was like 5 for 5 against the Royals. I know it was the Royals, but still, they had to come from behind in that game to get the victory. But yeah, look, they have a lot of young talent. We've talked a lot about the Mariners before the season started. So I really couldn't talk you off of the plus 130, especially for them just being half a game behind the Toronto Blue Jays for that third wildcard spot.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit of love in the chat as well. Trev and Kaysen are both sitting with a couple of little Mariners tickets, which is nice. And I think moving off, unless you have any pearls of wisdom to offer, I think we're done for our little Friday night fun show.
No, yeah, you nailed it, man. Good thing you took that walk around the garden. I was gonna mention that episode, that podcast I sent you to listen to about the MLB stuff. Did you listen to the Carlos Correa story about what the Mets did?
Yeah, it was absolutely outstanding. Yeah, I'm going to recycle that when I get down to the night talks. I'm going to recycle that over a beer to the rest of the night talks. It was really good, Munaf.
Yeah, but I think that covers it. We'll be back on Sunday night to do the Monday show as usual. So we're getting down to it, Mal. We're getting close to the finish line for the MLB season, and then lo and behold, before we know it, it's going to be playoff times for the MLB season.
Yep. Cool. Well, that was a load of fun. Thanks. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed looking around this card and tying myself in knots and then untying myself. The Mets have won 2 in a row. That was a low point of my season. I handicap the baseball.
That's a low point of the Mets season, not your season, the Mets season.
Yeah. Holy shit. Right. Thanks, everyone in the chat. It was live and vibrant, as always. I absolutely love it. Say, great little community. Fantastic. Go and like, rate, review, give us a thumbs up and all that sort of shenanigans. Listen to the Premier League show if you've got an hour, because there's 8 games over Saturday and Sunday. And dozens of winners shall be given out in that hour. As we have said, back on Sunday night, lots of bets between now and then. So good luck with all of those. And we'll see you down the road. Cheers.